up, guys? This is Tassio with Cymatics, and today I'm going to be walking you through this Quix remake that we made. So basically we wanted to show you guys how to make that new kind of experimental trap type lead. So guys like Quix do it as well as many other people, but we just wanted to kind of remake this one Quix remix, the Tommy Trash and Taysun IOUE Quix remix song. So I'm going to show you, play the original, and then we'll show you what we have, and then we'll get into how to remake that. So that was the original, and this is the version we have. So yeah, absolutely spot on. So I just want to give a shout out to Quix because he kind of like pioneered this sound, and I know a lot of other people are trying to recreate it, and that's what we're here to do, is to help you kind of learn how to make these different timbres of sounds. So also I want to mention that this Serum patch isn't like the craziest thing we've ever done. It's actually pretty simple, and a lot of the sound has to do with the post-processing we did with the Ableton plugins. So we're going to include this preset and this processing chain in the download in the description below. So I definitely recommend you get that and follow along with us. But anyway, I'm going to throw this MIDI into a new project and remake the patch for you guys. Alright guys, so I have the MIDI in here, and I have a clean version of Serum, like an initialized patch. So what you should be hearing is this. So yeah, nothing even close to what it sounds like when it's done, but it's actually kind of shocking how simple it is to get to that point. So first what we're going to open up is Serum, and we're only going to be using 2 oscillators and 1 effects for this. So oscillator A is going to be the standard saw wave, and oscillator B is going to be the analog BD sine. So now what you should be hearing is something quite similar. So the next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to want to bump up the unison of oscillator A and B. And basically what that means is when this says 1, there is 1 voice playing. That's what that vertical bar right there signifies, is there is 1 voice. So when we bump this up to 2, now there are 2 voices of oscillator A playing. And you'll see how they're kind of spaced out from each other. That kind of, the left and right determines like what tune it is. So if we have 3, you'll notice that there's the yellow bar in the middle that's completely vertical, or not completely vertical, it's completely in the center. And then the 2 green bars to the outside. And when I drag this detune knob, they're moving left to right. So when I have it all the way down, they're both completely in tune. And as I drag the detune knob up, the one on the right is being slightly tuned higher, and the one on the left is being tuned lower. So we're going to drag both of these up to 16. So now we're going to have 16 voices playing at all different tunings. And we're going to drag the detune knob to about around 1 o'clock. So now what we should hear is this. So if you're wearing headphones or listening on speakers, you can hear the sound starting to get very wide, and it's just kind of like thicker and has a little bit more texture. So now what we're going to do is just add to that. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to make our envelopes. So envelope 1 is going to be at around 90 seconds, and this is just going to basically like take off the sharpness of the sound. So it's basically going to come in a little bit smoother and softer. And that's a big part to this sound. And then we're going to take the decay down to just under 300. And that's not going to affect anything right now because the sustain is all the way up. But as we drag the sustain down, this decay knob starts to come into action, because the decay knob will tell you how long you're going to get from full volume down to whatever you set the sustain to. So we're going to turn the sustain down to 0. So basically what this is saying is it will take 92 milliseconds for the sound to get to 100% volume. And then once it reaches that point, it's going to immediately decay down to 0, and it's going to take 276 milliseconds to do that. So now what we should be hearing is, so it's like a little pluck we got going. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to turn on the filter, and we are going to make sure that A and B are enabled. And basically what this means is oscillator A and B will be affected by the filter. And we're just going to leave it at MG low 12. So basically, this is just going to be rolling off all the highs. So now what you should be hearing is this. So this is what we're going to use envelope 2 for. So envelope 2 is going to be a similar shape to envelope 1, except the attack is going to be shorter and the decay is going to be longer. So we're going to take this attack up to around 30 seconds or 30 milliseconds. And the decay is going to be 1.2 seconds, just around there. And we're going to take the sustain all the way down, and we're going to drag this envelope 2 onto the cutoff. So now what you're seeing is there's blue going on both sides of the cutoff knob and taking up the whole range. What we're going to want to do is hold Shift and Option and click right there. And basically that's going to take it from going both ways to going one way. And we're going to take this knob and turn it to about 3 o'clock. So now what we should be hearing, or 2 o'clock. So now what we should be hearing is this. And basically what this is doing is just taming the sound. Okay, so what else we're going to do for right here is we're going to turn on mono, which means that only one note can be played at a time. And then we're going to turn on legato, which means that if notes are overlapping, the second note will just continue on the first note. It won't restart. And then what we're going to do as well is we're going to select always. And we're going to drag this portamento up to around halfway. So now we should have that like gliding sound. So yeah, you hear that gliding sound. That's a very big part of the sound as well. And the last thing we're going to do for this Serum patch is we're going to turn on the distortion. And it already comes default as tube. And the drive and the mixer right here, we're just going to take this drive and bump it all the way up. So right now it sounds really crappy, and we're going to fix all that and tame all that with the Ableton processing chain. And that's what we're going to do next. All right, so the first thing we're going to do for this processing chain is we're going to add a reverb. And it's not what you would traditionally think is a reverb. It's just going to be a very short one, and it's just going to add a little bit of space and delay and just give it a little stereo kind of effect. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this dry wet and we're going to turn it all the way up to 90%. So anything past 50% means that the wet signal of the reverb is going to overpower the dry signal. So right now what you should be hearing is this. There's like this big space at the end, so we're not going to want that. We're going to turn this up to 90%, which is going to kind of enhance that, but we're going to play with a bunch of these settings over here, and that's going to kind of fix that. So we're going to work from left to right. We're going to turn on the low cut, and then we're going to turn off the high cut. So basically we're just going to be cutting all of the input from right here, because we don't want a lot of those lows to be in the reverb. And then we're going to take this pre-delay and turn it down as low as it can go. And basically what the pre-delay does is it determines how long it will take for the reverb to kind of hop into action. So if we turn this all the way up, whenever the signal hits, the reverb kind of turns off and comes back on. It's almost like a little sidechain effect, but we're going to turn that all the way down because we just want it to happen immediately. We're going to take this shape down to around 0.29, and we're going to drag this spin, this little knob right here. We're going to drag that just around this corner, and we're going to take the size and put it to 1.16, and this is basically just going to bring the reverb like closer. And then we're going to take the decay time and put it right under 400. So now we have this short little like small room reverb that's like right in front of us. So that is like a huge part of this sound. It gives it like a little bit of delay, and that's that reverb effect that we want. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to put a simple delay on here. And again, this is not going to be the standard type of delay you're thinking about where it's this like echo that's going on. So you should be hearing this when you first open it. So we're not going to want that. We're going to hit sync right here so it turns the time, and then sync right here so it turns the time as well. And we're going to take this one for the right, and we're going to type in 15 for 15 milliseconds. And so basically what you should be hearing now is this. So if you're wearing headphones, it's a lot easier to hear, but there is a small delay. So the left channel is happening right away, or 1 millisecond later, and the right is happening 15 milliseconds later. So we're going to turn that dry wet all the way up so none of the signals are kind of overlapping. Because when you have it at 50%, it's going to sound kind of phasey and crappy, and it's because the original signal, which is happening right on time, is overlapping with this signal that's happening 1 millisecond later and this signal that's happening 15 milliseconds later, and it just doesn't sound great. So we're just going to turn it up to 100% dry wet. So next thing we're going to put on is an EQ, and we're just going to tame some of these lows and boost some mids and highs. So we're going to click on the first band, and we're going to do that like brick wall curve, that low cut times 4. And we're going to drag this up to around 170, and then also pull it down so it's kind of rolling rather than such a sharp curve. It's kind of roll off. And then we're going to take this 3, and we're going to boost the frequencies right around here and turn the Q down. So now what we should be hearing is less lows and a little bit more mids. And then we're also going to take this 4, and we're going to boost the highs a little bit. So yeah, it's starting to sound really good, and now we're going to like cap it off. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to add some bright long reverb. So we're going to go to our reverb presets right here and select bright long verb. And we're going to start by taking this dry wet and putting it down to 20. We're actually going to automate this a little bit later. And then we're going to take this decay time and turn it down to 900 milliseconds. And we're also going to automate this later. And then other than that, that reverb is good. So you should be hearing. And that's just giving it like a bigger reverb, like a bigger room at the end. So we're going to automate this and play around with it and, kind of give cool effects. The next thing we're going to need is multiband compression. So we're going to go into the multiband dynamics tab and select multiband compression. And we're going to leave these settings as is. And basically what this is going to do is this is going to like glue everything together, brighten everything up, and kind of like tame some of those transients. So now what we should be hearing is this. All right. And then the last thing we're going to have is a glue compressor, which we're just going to put the threshold at -5. And this is just going to be taming all kind of peaks that come in this way. So that is the sound. But what we're really going to do to take it to the next level is start automating some things. So let's go back to the Serum patch real quick. So in the project, we had two macros that were being automated. So we're going to take the source and put macro 1, and the destination is going to be the global master tune. And we're going to drag this up to 14. And then macro 2 is going to be master tune as well. And we're going to drag this down to 10. So basically what this is doing is we have a up and a down. So when we turn this up all the way, we are going to automate this and start making like little like pitch bending automations. So let's zoom in a little bit. So we have 4 bars right here, and let's automate this up macro. So we are going to put it on this note right here, and we're basically just going to hit B to drag our pencil tool up, and we're going to drag it all the way up to 100%. Click off B, and then select this, so we have like a down saw. And then we're also going to hold Option to bring up our curve mode and curve that right here. So we should be hearing this. So it's just that quick little pitch bend that we're hearing. And then we're gonna hit plus so we can see our automation lanes. And we're gonna go back into Serum, and we're gonna click our down knob. So it brings that into the automation window. We're gonna hit plus again. And then we're gonna make the same curve on the next note. So basically this is going down, and this one will be going up. So yeah, that sounded really cool right there. So what we're going to do is we're going to select these 4 bars, and we're just going to hit Command D to duplicate it across this entire MIDI patch right here. All right, the next thing we're going to automate is this reverb. So we're going to start with automating the dry wet. And basically what we're going to do is we're going to make sure that this reverb is all the way off at the start of every 4 bars. So right here, it's going to be off, and then we're going to automate it up to very high at this very end. So in the original patch, there was like a lot more, fine tuning for this automation. You can fine tune it how you want. I'm just going to do the basics of what this is. So basically, we have no reverb, and then we're like building up reverb to the very end, and then there's going to be a sharp cutoff right there, and that's what's going to give like a cool sound. So I clicked plus, so we have this in its own automation lane, and we're going to duplicate these 4 bars across as well. So now what you should be hearing is this. So you can hear the reverb. We can drag this up even more to like 80%, just so it's more dramatic. So you can hear the reverb starting to grow right around here, but we're going to make it even more dramatic, and that's when automating this decay time comes into play. So for the very end, we're going to make the decay time a lot higher. So we can even take this first point and drag it down so it gets more, it kind of builds up. But basically what this is doing is adding like a lot of like noise, and it's transitioning into the next 4 bars like very nicely. So we're going to take that, and we're going to duplicate it across as well. And that is it. That is our sound right there. So yeah, the Serum patch wasn't too crazy, but the processing kind of was. I mean, it wasn't too crazy, but it definitely was, lengthy. Where I typically like to do all of my processing inside of Serum when I can, just because I think everything just kind of sounds nicer together. But you can certainly do it this way, and right here we did, and it sounds really great. So let's play it back one more time. So yeah, there you go. There you have it. I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope you guys learned a lot. Definitely grab the download below. In the download, we have the Serum preset and the Ableton effects racks. So I definitely would recommend you downloading it and maybe like watching this video a few times and recreating it to where you can just do it on your own. That's that's just one of the great ways you can get really good at sound design. But anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm Tassione, and this is Cymatics.